Hello and welcome back again. As you can see, we're back down on the carpet again this week, and we're going to have a look at the R.45 turntable set. Whilst it was pictured in the catalogue as early as 1955, I don't believe it was available to buy till 57, remaining available till 62 when Super 4-track became available. We're also going to have a look at the R.202 MK2 electrically operated point, available between 57 and 60, and we're going to have a look at that great R.80 station set there, available between 52 and 61.
Here we've got page 10 of the 1957 catalogue. Whilst there have been points in the standard track series before this, and I think even an electrically operated one, I think this was a step change in design, the Mark II coming along in 57. Again, I think it changed again in 1960 through to 62 as the Mark IIA. But of course by then Series 3 track had largely taken over. So this is a right hand point here, R.102, that's the hand operated point, and here we have the electrically operated right hand point, R.201. We can see the electrical contacts there to power the solenoid motor. I think they shared the same outer body moulding, these points, so they could be manual or electric without changing the moulding for the track base, which could have been a bit of a cost saving thing. So we'll just pop that down. Ooh, we should also have a look at this, which is the solenoid assembly for converting a hand-operated point. And I've got one of those in a box as well, so you could have bought a hand-operated point and then bought the conversion kit later on to make it into an electrically operated kit. So the first steps down the road to independent point motors, I think. Let's just pop that down there. So let's have a swift look at the solenoid assembly kit there. X97 solenoid assembly for converting Mark II hand-operated points. So a fairly nice box, bit of sellotape marking on there. We've got a fairly famous store name there and some interesting pricing. I think there's probably two separate prices there, isn't there? So it says C instruction leaflet supplied with Mark II points. Sadly, I don't have an instruction leaflet to go with any of these points. Otherwise, we could have a look at those. Must have a look out for some. So we'll just have a swift look at this solenoid assembly kit. There's not a great deal to it. I assume this was probably wrapped in tissue paper at some stage in its life, or greaseproof type paper. So we'll just have a look at that. And there is the set of contacts already wired onto the solenoid. And I believe these sort of copper tabs here would sort of attach to the plastic work of the point to hold it into place. Fairly nice action on there. So hefty old thing. So we'll just pop that down for safekeeping down there for a moment, and then we'll have a look at the point. So Mark II point, sort of a fairly robust looking sort of set of switchblades or frog. I don't know whether you call that a frog or switchblades, point blades perhaps. And we can see how that it can operate manually there. You can see how it changes from one contact to the other. And you've got those little contact clips underneath the rail to supply power down the rail as we change there. So fairly robust looking thing. It's quite amazing it's still working after all these years. Missing the tongue at this end. They are removable, so you could add them or take them away. Especially important, I think, if you were sharing these with Series 3 track perhaps. Let's just have a look what's printed on here. It helps if we turn it the right way up, of course. So we have Triang, made in England, R.102/202. Does that say Brit there? And then patent number. So really interesting stuff. You can see the solenoid just poking through. You can see there those little copper contact strips, and presumably there's another one hiding underneath the blade there. Fairly hefty looking check rails, aren't they? So we've got this lovely aluminium plate on the back held in with the three screws there. So let's just put some power onto it and we'll have a look at the thing running. So just get these cables in the right holes. So and then we get the green in and the red. There we go. So if I just reach for the switch, fairly impressive noise, isn't it? I suppose if we had the CDU, we'd have a much more positive throw without all the humming. But I just never got around to wiring that up for this demonstration. Fairly impressive, isn't it? But let's take that off and we'll take the back off and have a look on the inside. So let's see if we can get these tiny little screws out. So tiny little brass screws. So we'll just get that one out there, keep that safe for later. And the other one there. And I think the R.202 points had a much nicer frog and set of switchblades, more like Series 3 points. Let's just pop that off the back there. If you look on the back of the aluminium plate, apart from this sort of ribbing here, we've got this piece of tape which has been fitted, presumably for some sort of insulation from there. Let's just pop that down. And have a look at the assembly under there. If I operate it by hand, you can see that cam. That's what's throwing the frog on the other side there, or the blades. Fairly robust thing. Probably more robust than the Series 3 points, really. So let's hook that up to some power and see what it looks like from underneath when it's running. So, whoops. Throwing the cables around. I don't know whether I've put those on in the same order or not. It might just have to catch up. So we'll just hold that and we reach for the switch. My finger was on the lever on the other side then. So fairly positive, isn't it? Strangely, not humming quite so much just at the moment. There we go, so we'll pop that down and just have a swift look at the service sheet here, which covers all of the items here. And it details that X97 conversion kit just there, and those separate tongues, and those heavy old frogs or blades, whatever we want to call them. So it is fairly dismantleable, and it would have just had a blanking plate in there for the manual version.
And we'll just throw the lever on that uncoupling ramp there so we can separate the locomotive and coaches. And we just need to try and remember which way to turn the controller. So to the right should be forwards as it stands at the moment. There we go, nice separation. And we'll come to a stop just before the point there. And then we must put the uncoupling ramp down again because it sits just high enough to derail the locomotive. There's not enough give in it to let it pass over it. Just listen to this sound. That's lovely, isn't it? Great action on that point. And then smoothly through, up onto the bridge on the turntable there. And again, just listen to the sound this makes when I press the button. A little bit like a food mixer, I think. It's an absolutely tremendous sound. Nice stop there. Lovely action on that point, isn't it? When you can see the light shining on it as the point throws. Now we'll run around this small oval of track there. Actually, these are large radius curves, they're not the small ones. Nice connection there, I think. Now this is R.251, the 3F tender loco, and having the Mark II couplings, I think that dates it to around 1958. Storming past the station there, making a lovely sound, and a really pretty sight with those shadows coming from the light through the window today. Very, very nice thing to look at.
The R.45 turntable set It's in a hefty old box with trying railways on almost every surface. Sadly, lots of sellotape on it. We'll just have a quick look around here. So it's a fairly big old box. There we go. And then it's sort of a grey cardboard underneath there. We'll pop that down and we'll take off the lid. See if we can get almost the whole box in view there. So I can't quite get the camera far enough away from this, so we'll just remove the lid. So I think it has most of its original packaging inside the instructions are a reproduction set. They're just a photocopy of the original. Sadly, I don't have the original ones, but very handy to have. We'll have a look at those in a moment. So you can see there's lots of nice sort of cardboard packing pieces, and there were some of these extra tongues here which will go on the ends of the turntable inlet and outlet tracks, and a part of an old fuse unit which I had to replace. I couldn't find a fuse which would fit in that housing. We'll pop that to one side. So nicely the cabling's in there, which supplies the switch. So that's just held in with a little piece of cardboard. And we've got the switch under here. And we'll just pop that out, see if we can pop that back in. For now we won't get that cabling out. So there we've got the push button switch. We've got the inlets there, and then the outlets to control the turntable. We'll pop that to one side. So this black cabling would have originally lived in here, I think, but because I replaced the fuse, I couldn't find a housing for a modern fuse. The fuse was very small in the old housing, but so that's just from a car stereo. So that does the job. We've got these lovely brass connectors on the ends here, which I have numbered to make it easier to connect the whole thing up, since they aren't color coded. So again, we'll just pop that over there, and we'll just lift off the card protector for the bridge here, and then have a swift look. So we've got the nice bridge there. You can see the surface of the turntable is quite pitted, sort of beginning to rust, sadly. So let's just take out some of these packing pieces there. So made out of plenty of folded, heavy cards. You can see they've protected the turntable over the years. Lots of large, rusty staples. I'll pull out this one. So this protects one of the inlet outlet tracks. There we go, we've got the appropriate cutout there. So very, very nice things to have. And as I say, it has protected the turntable very nicely. And we'll take out this as well. Again, quite a feat in packaging, I think, to design this. And that covers up the inlet outlet track on the other side. And this piece sort of sits underneath there from what we see. There we go. So that one just sits underneath. We'll have a swift look at the turntable now. We've got Triang's name right in the centre of the bridge here. And we've got made in England. So it's a hefty old thing, and there's the inlet or an outlet track there. I think that is probably the weak point in the design. They could get snapped off if you weren't careful. Again, there. Let's have a look at that. A bit closer there. And then we've got the hut, or where the motor runs the whole unit is contained within this hut. And it's got a door on the back of it, as well as some power inlets. So a nice door detail there. So fairly impressive thing, I think, especially coming along 1957. It would have been quite an item to get, quite expensive from what I understand. It has been repaired by what looks like that sort of old brown araldite type glue there. And as we've seen we've got this red light here, so to tell you that the whole thing is in operation. And we can see part of the working here. So we've got the drive gear or pinion here, which drives the bed of the turntable. And now we've got this electric switch, which I believe operates a little bit like a electromagnet. Pulls this strip back towards it and makes the contact here. But we'll have a look at that in a moment. We'll just have a swift look on the underside here. So we can see some of the cabling is being held in place here with these basic cutouts in the bottom plate. And we've got a series of these sort of roller bearings right the way around, making it quite smooth in operation. We've got taking the supply from the tracks here. We'll see in a moment how that's fed to the bridge on the turntable. So I've just undone the centre screw, which holds the bridge onto the turntable. We'll just take that out. It's a fairly tiny looking thing. See if we can get some focus on that. We'll pop that down there for safekeeping. So if we look at the rails here, we've got a brass contact under each of them. So that's how the power is going to be fed from the inlet and outlet tracks to the rails on the bridge. So let's just lift that out and just have a closer look at those contacts. See there underneath the rails. And if we spin this over and have a look underneath, we've got these sprung brass contacts here, which will make connection with these two items here, which bring the power in from these inlet and outlet tracks, whichever way around we want to call it. So I've got the turntable wired up here just as we see it in the diagram. If we take away that part, which is powering the track, so I'm just using the 12 volt uncontrolled outlet on the back of the P5 down here. So the turntable is only designed to turn the engine. It doesn't have outlet tracks. You'd have had to wait till the R.407 manual turntable and 408 electrically operated turntable in I think 63 or 64 to come along before we had outlet tracks, but still a great deal of play value in being able to turn the engine around. So we'll just have a swift look at the instruction sheet here. So it does give a very good description on how the turntable works and how it should be used in operation, how to wire it up, and some basic maintenance items to be gone over from time to time. So always nice to have the instructions, sadly not the originals as we said earlier, but I have found on the internet a service sheet depicting all of the parts used to make up this turntable. There's rather a lot of them, which perhaps makes it quite an expensive item in the long run. So let's have a look at the thing running. So we'll just pop that down to one side there, and if I push the button, so we've got the cables coming from the uncontrolled 12 volt supply, and then we've got the three cables running out to the back of the motor hut here on the back of the turntable. So if I push the button, we'll watch the light come on. So I've just removed the top of the motor housing here, and we can see we've got the light in there, so I can't take that right away. The cables have to be removed, so they pass through holes in the back of the housing. So if I just pick up this other camera, and we'll have a slightly closer look. So if we look inside here and see if we can point to this. So there we've got the electromagnet type switch. If we have a closer look at that, so when that's energized, it pulls this sprung plate here, and that also removes that little tab. I don't know whether you can see that there. It pulls it out of a little slot in the turntable, but at the same time it allows that sprung part there to make contact with this post, which makes the connection, which makes the turntable run. So once the turntable's run, this is pulled away with the electromagnet. That little tab stays pushed away, keeping contact with that while the turntable rotates all the way around, and there's a corresponding slot. Let's see if we can find that slot for you on the other side of the turntable there. So when that reaches the appropriate point, that sprung clip just drops back, excuse the quick camera work, and breaks the contact and turns the whole thing off. So I think that's quite ingenious. I hope I've explained that reasonably well. I think the best thing to do is to press the button and watch the whole thing in operation. See, it's a wonderful mechanism, isn't it? So if we hold that slightly further away, we'll see the old lamp come on while we do that. So I could watch this run all day. Let's see if we can see it from this angle here. See the whole thing run again. So it really is quite a simple thing, really, isn't it? I suppose there are probably more advanced ways of doing this electrically today. Let's have one more go, I think.
Perhaps a little bit unfair saying the turntable sounds like a food mixer, but you sort of know what I mean. Now those coaches, they are the maroon and cream coaches. They were available between 56 and 62, and these ones having the Mark II couplings, I think probably dates them between 56 and 58. Now we're just going to run around there, just beyond the point, and bring it to a stop again. Now the composite is R29 and the brake is R28. The coupling ramp down there. We'll throw that switch again. Lovely sound. There we go. Just trying to throw the switch smoothly, because if you move it too quick, it sort of mis-throws and you won't get enough contact for it to throw the point over. Nice stop on the turntable, and then we'll get to listen to that great sound again. There we go. Just remembering to turn the control of the correct way to get it to go. And we'll throw those points again. It really does add quite a bit of play value, these electrically operated points and turntable. They are really great items, I think. Lovely light again. I know I've already said that, but it really does look pretty with that light coming through the window today. But I think it didn't sell as well as Triumph thought they were going to sell, these turntables. The later ones made in plastic with a Super 4 track were far more successful.
And there we have the complete station set, and you can see it there in the insert picture in the 1957 catalogue. And that's R.80. I believe this was available as early as 1952 and remained in the catalogue till 61 perhaps. So the box is fairly tidy. It's sort of served its purpose. It's a little bit squashed, but it's not really torn or battered too much. You can hear the contents moving around intriguingly inside, and that is quite a nice rubber stamp there, isn't it? So we'll just pop open the end. We'll have a look inside. So there is a price scribbled on the end of the box there. I'm not sure what year it would have been, that price. So we'll just open that out, and we'll get out the contents. So we've got a couple of canopies, and then the station approach steps there. Pop those down, and then we've got the ticket office. Somebody's glued the chimney onto that. I believe that would have been a separate item at some point. And then we've got 3 platform sections. Let's just remove those and pop that box down to one side. Now the platform section is a straight section here, so it's a fairly used condition, and I believe this was R63. Let's have a look on the underside here and see if we can see that See if I can get that to show in the light for you there. There we go, Triang's name, R63. Made in England. It doesn't sort of lock together, they just stand together on the baseboard or the carpet, whichever you're using it on. So I'll pop that down. And then we've got the platform section here. So this is R64L, so this is the left-hand end, made in England, Triang. Again, fairly neat condition, matches the straight section. And there we have the right-hand end, and that carries the number. Let's see if we can get that to focus for you there. R64, R for the right-hand side, made in England. Pop that down. The station approach steps. Now these are also separately available items. So these are R67, I think, and these are available with a variety of these wonderful advertising posters. There are many, many different variations available, but a lovely little item. And just stand at the back of the station. So you could have many of these on your station if you had a few extra straight sections perhaps. And there we can just see down there, so we can get that into focus, R67 down there. And I'm not sure whether this is acetate or polystyrene. It hasn't got too much of a twist or a warp in it, so I'm thinking polystyrene. So here we've got the ticket office. So the ticket office was R60. I think most of these items are available separately if you look through the catalogue pages, although I'm not sure whether the chimneys were ever sold separately. They do tend to get lost. So no glazing in the windows. You've got that lovely walk through there and the yellow doors. Again, really pretty advertising on the ends there. Have a look around there. Again, it's in fairly used condition, almost weathered if you like. But it doesn't really clean up very much. Then we've got these wonderful canopies, and these are quite fragile. You can see there's some paint being spilled on that. And again, I'm not sure whether these were separately available items or not, but they do tend to break. And I have slightly opened up this slot so that they don't break. Let's see if we can just pop that in there. There we go. So that's very fragile, isn't it? You can see how those would break easily. So we'll just have a look at the canopy on the other side and see that lovely bench sitting there as well with the feet on it. Quite a nice touch. And again, I've opened out the ends a little just so it's kinder to it, so it just slots in there. Again, really pretty thing with this detail, sort of wood slatted effect along the edges. Quite a lovely thing.
And there we go. I think we've got time just for one more go with the turntable. So we'll run around this oval one more time and then have a gentle stop at the station, and we'll separate locomotive and coaches again. Now those station buildings really are wonderful, those great big platform sections. The early buildings, of course, were available in bright red rather than the brown we saw at this station. I do have a handful of them, and we should have a look at them at some point in the future. They were made of acetate plastic and are quite susceptible to warping, just like some of those earlier models we've seen in past videos. I think some of the models that were made in brown were also acetate. I think the water tower suffers from warping too. And we'll just put that uncoupling ramp down and gently throw that switch again. Again, if you do move those lever frames too quickly, you don't get the contact and enough power through to change the point nicely onto the bridge. And then we get to press that button again for that great sound. There we go. Just a little thought on which way we're going to turn the controller again. Out through the points. And then gently with the lever frame switch again. There we go. They really do spice up the railway having these electrically operated items, I think. And must have been great purchases back in the day, I think. Back before we had many other electrically operated items around the home. I think we've got a good connection there. And off we go around the layout. Again, thanks for watching. It really is hugely appreciated. I think if you look back again next time, we'll have something running on the layout then, and we'll find something interesting. Goodbye now.